Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Fun Stories, and today we're going to look at the r/entitled people stories. All right, let's go. You can just pay for me. Just happened, I'm still shaking my head laughing. Went to an automatic car wash to get salt and crap in my car. I have an older Honda, but it's my baby and I try to take care of it. Car washes are a splurge. I do it once in a while since I don't have anywhere at my place to wash it. I pull up in the line behind a lady in a new Cadillac SUV, and she pulls into a bay. I start the process of buying my car wash for after her. Just as I'm about to select my service, I notice the touchless spraying is not going. At first, I think the machine is broken. NBD, there is another bay over. I, I see working. I cancel the transaction and I start to back up. Lady honks and gets out of her car, dressed to the nines and decked out in jewelry. Says, just pay for me and I'll give you cash. I'm like, okay, just as easy. I tell her to give me the cash and I'll put the wash she wants in. I'll pay you after it's done. You mean after you drive out and the door closes behind you? That after? Yeah, not happening. That's okay, I'll just back up and go to another washer. Wow, you're just so fucking rude, aren't you? Can't just pay for someone else? Lady, you're driving a fucking new caddy and I'm in an old Honda. But I'm rude because you're cheap? Go scam someone else, lady. I just laughed and moved. Best part, as I was leaving, she tried it on someone else and I heard him tell her to fuck off with that bullshit. Should have stopped with the rude person. Oh, that's so weird, man. Let's look at the comments. Yeah, she was trying to get a free wash out of you. That's bonkers. Who does that? The entitlement shows him that one. Who does that? Someone is who behind on the car payments on a ridiculously overpriced giant look at me vehicle. My mom is a retired banker, just at a small local bank. But she used to laugh about so many people, everyone in town that were the richest people around had barely a penny to their name. She never gave me the specifics. And then there was people driving around in 20-year-old pickups with 3 million in their checking account. Judging somebody by what they drive and what they wear nowadays, and assuming based on that what they can afford is pretty stupid. I worked at two different small local banks for 20 years. I've been telling people this for years and years. Don't be jealous of those big fish in our little pond because they're constantly late on payments and one bad month away from losing everything. Our few wealthy customers were people that nobody would expect to have that kind of money. They're right. There's something called new money and something called old money. And I think new money is always focused on the big brands, and old money is like very to themselves, just living their lives, not spending everything, not going to these big fancy bars. So, yeah. But let's go and look at the next story on r/entitled people. My fling from 5 years ago is mad at me. I, 28, female, have been with my current boyfriend John, name changed, for the past 3 years. He has been my rock, and I hope to marry him. 5 years ago, I had a fling with a former college mate. Finally, he shares the same name as my current boyfriend. We went out on 2 dates, but he never called me after that, so I assumed it fizzled. To be honest, I'm very glad now that he made no attempt to contact me after 2 days. John, the fling, and I have little to no contact. However, we had a few mutual friends. I recently ran into him at a wedding and was catching up with him. He asked me if I was seeing someone. I told him I was dating a guy with the same name as his. For some godforsaken reason, John the Fling was highly offended by this. He said if he wanted to end up with John, I was there. Like people with the same name are interchangeable. I politely reminded him that he has never called me back. He said that he was waiting for me to call him. I never did, so he gave up. I could have called him, but honestly, I wasn't feeling it. He made a few unwanted taunts over text after that, and to protect my fees, I simply blocked him. No more of that in 2026. My boyfriend simply found it amusing, and while he has made a joke about it, we both taken in as a positive spirit. P.S. Not that it matters, but I should clarify that the name is extremely common name here in India. Edit. Some people are taking this so seriously, asking why I had even the slightest contact with John the Fling. We have a lot of mutual friends and are on some WhatsApp groups together, so we end up seeing each other on birthdays and festivals. That's the extent of the contact we have. As for why I'm posting this, it's pretty much because I thought Reddit could use a funny story, not looking for any advice. I find it very funny that he thinks she just wants to date somebody with the same name. Like you date the person for who they are, so not for the name. That's so weird. I think he just checks his own reality. The comments on this story weren't really that interesting, so we're going to the next story. My upstairs neighbor thought quiet hours were a suggestion for other people. I live in a ballast below ground apartment. It is not poetic license, it's a geological and emotional reality. My windows are at shin level, spiders make eye contact with me like we're coworkers. The sun checks in twice a day and it leaves me on red. This matters because sound does not behave normally down here. It does not phase or disperse, it settles in like it pays rent, and it complains about the amenities. The entitled people upstairs moved in sometime in early spring. I know this because that is when the sleep stopped being a thing. I did and started being a thing I ran with fondly. They were a couple, or maybe several couples, or maybe in a rotating cast of people who all believed the apartment complex existed primarily to host them. The configuration changed often, but the entitlement was constant. They will play this music all into the night, 2 hours past the apartment complex's rule on this, which were posted in several places, including directly by the mailboxes, and also in the lease they definitely did not read. Being the bottomless below ground apartment, their music echoed like a maddening cacophony through my apartment. Bass first, then lyrics, and then the faint sound of them yelling at each other over the music, that someone somehow helps. This was not normal loud sound. This was music played by people who believed quiet hours are a vibe, not a rule. Bass, heavy, slow rattling. Is this an earthquake or a remix music? My dishes vibrated, my shelves cracked, my bed frame developed opinions. 3 in the morning, I would lie there staring at the ceiling, listen to someone else's playlist, and wondering how a person becomes so confident that no one else exists. I tried to be normal about it at first. I knocked on the door, I smiled, I said, "Hey, sorry to bother you, I live downstairs," and the sound carries. They look surprised, not apologetic or surprised, just surprised, but consequences had a physical form. They apologized anyway, turned it down, and I slept for exactly one night. After that, the volume came back like I was offended I had noticed it. I escalated my politeness, which in hindsight was foolish, but at the time felt responsible. I was nice, I shared some good weed with them as a gift occasionally, baked them things, banana bread cookies, the kind of baked goods that say, "Please see me as a person." They accepted it all of it happily, thanked me, and then continued to blast music like I was an abstract concept. I left notes, polite ones, smiley faces, exclamation points using sparsely, nothing. I texted them once after they gave me their number and they responded with thumbs up emoji, which I think translates roughly to "cool story, bro." When I mentioned the complex quiet hours, they laughed at me and said, "Yeah, but everybody does it." This is an important sentence because it tells you everything you need to know about them, not that the rule was unclear or unfair or inconvenient, but they simply believed it did not apply to them. I did my best to get the landlords to do anything, but it appeared I would be required to do something about it myself. The leasing office was polite in the way that suggests they have dealt with the exact kind of person many, many times. We will remind them of the policy. We will send them a notice. Please let us know if it continues. It continued. So I documented dates, times, duration, audio clips, mostly for my own sanity so I could play them back later and confirm that yes, this was real and not a stress hallucination. I emailed every incident calmly, consequently, like a deeply boring ghost. The entitled people upstairs responded by becoming louder, stomping, shouting, playing music earlier and later, and sometimes on Tuesday, which feels targeted. They argued loudly, made up loudly, and had friends over who also shouted loudly because apparently volume is contagious. I learned more about their lives than I wanted to. I learned that entitlement often travels in packs. At one point, they knocked on my door to tell me to stop complaining. They said they pay rent too, as if rent includes subwoofer endorsements. They told me if I didn't like the noise, I shouldn't live in an apartment, which is a wild thing to say to someone living underground beneath them. Things came to a head on a Thursday night. I remember because I'd worked the next morning and hope in my heart, which was a mistake. The music started around 10, by midnight it was in war volume, and around 1 shouting joined not a party shouting, but a sharp, angry shouting. A new girlfriend was involved, I know, because I had not yet memorized her voice. Door slammed, something broke, and the music cut out abruptly, which somehow made the yelling feel louder. Then sirens, red and blue lights flickering through my tiny window, like a rave sponsored by Consequences. The cops showed up. Clipboards came out, voices dropped into that tight control registered people use when they realize they have gone too far. This is when my brain did a small but meaningful click, because I remembered something important. Police involvement violates the lease. Noise complaints are one thing, police visit are another. Entitled people rarely believe rules apply to them until uniforms are involved. I did not insert myself, I did not exaggerate. I simply logged what happened like I always did and waited. The next morning I emailed the leasing office. Factual claim attached to my documentation mentioning the police presence. I did not accuse or additional lies. I let the facts sit there and do the heavy lifting. They moved very quickly after that. The entitled people got a warning, then another, then a notice. The music stopped for a week. I slept like the dead, which felt unfairly luxurious. Then it came back, cautious at first, like a child testing boundaries, and then full force again, because generally believed they would get away with it. I kept documenting every stomp, every late night baseline, every violation. I sent weekly summaries. I used bullet points. I was a nightmare, but a polite one. They confronted me again, accused me of being uptight, of ruining their fun, of not understanding apartment living. I told them I understood it perfectly, and that was the problem. The final straw came with another argument, another girlfriend, another visit from the police. By this point, the leasing office had a file thick enough to qualify a light reading. They were evicted. The night they moved out was silent in a way that felt unreal. I sat on my couch with a book and a sense of peace. They say entitled people never think consequences will actually happen to them, and then they are usually right until they aren't. I slept 8 uninterrupted hours. I woke up refreshed and slightly feral. Spiders approved. The lesson here is not to be vindictive. It's to understand the entitled tribes when people assume no one will push back. Document, know the rules better than the people breaking them. Be boring, be relentless. Entitled people rely on everyone else being too tired to care. I was tired, but I cared anyway. And somewhere I hope they are explaining to a new landlord how unfair it all was, completely unaware of the irony. Oh, poor OP. I mean, I have neighbors that are like very loud, but Jesus, this is a fucking nightmare. Alright guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. Like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.